Bloody Polaroids, secrets that should never be found. I often wonder how my life would look now if I had not let my relentless curiosity overwhelm me. No therapy, no medical bills, no nightmares, no constant glances over my shoulder while I torture myself with the thought that today could be my last. So if I disappear, at least I can leave my story behind. Alright, I can do this. You've got a junk drawer at home too, right? Usually it is in the kitchen, full of random things collected over the years. Ours had a blunt pair of scissors, 2 stubby holders from a law firm for driving under the influence, a broken screwdriver, and an old brass key of unknown origin. Based on its size, it looked like it might open a jewelry box or something, but I could not be sure. It mostly gathered dust in the back corner of the drawer. Every time I reached for the scissors, I would catch a glimpse of it and wonder where it came from. My mate Sam and I moved into the house right after finishing university. It was an older place but had heaps of space and was a quick trip into the city, where Sam and I both worked. We had another housemate named Rocky, who was a bit older than us, but we did not mind. I worked in the mayor's office, Sam was in finance, and Rocky was a chef at one of the city's fancy restaurants. We all worked long hours, so we often spent our evenings together. Rocky had this ritual of cooking for us after coming back from a long shift, usually half drunk. We became fast mates. He was quite a character, covered in tattoos and always wearing a red bandana. I remember he could fix anything and was practically our handyman since our landlord was too lazy to sort repairs. I figured the key must belong to Rocky. After all, he loved collecting things. The house was full of knickknacks he had gathered over the years. My favorite was a life-size Jackie Brown poster in our living room. One night, after a few beers, I asked him about the key, but he had no idea where it came from either. He reckoned it was his old housemates, but they had not got along, so he just left it alone. That was the end of it, until a massive storm nearly tore the roof off. Of course, our landlord was nowhere to be found, so Rocky had to patch up the leak in the attic. I will never forget that day. Rocky came trudging down the stairs, soaking wet and filthy, his headlamp still on. "Guys, I think I found something," he said, grinning. In his hands, he held a small lockbox, made of metal, maybe iron, and nearly rusted through. The three of us stared at it silently, wondering if we should use the key. "Stuff it, why not?" said Sam, grabbing the key from the drawer. It fit perfectly. The hollow lock fell to the floor with a thud. Rocky carefully lifted the lid and switched on his headlamp again. "What the hell?" he whispered. Inside, we found an old notebook, page after page filled with strange symbols, a military-style compass, a map of Texas, and a faded Polaroid of a young blonde woman, smiling as if at a birthday party. On the back of the Polaroid were coordinates: 30.56588, -95.5698881. "Huh," Sam muttered, looking at his phone. "Looks like these coordinates are in Sam Houston National Forest. Not too far, really." "We should go," Rocky called out. "You guys have always talked about taking me camping." And that was true. Sam and I were stunned. Rocky, a bloke with many talents and adventures, had never been camping. We had often teased him since Sam and I met as kids in Scouts and were used to the outdoors. Now seemed as good a time as any. "Who knows how many people have lived in this house," Rocky thought out loud. "Maybe we will find something worth keeping." I often dream about that day. I am tied to a chair, watching the three of them rummage through the box, begging, no screaming, for Rocky to throw it away. I feel my screams turn into laughter with a voice I do not recognize. A few days later, we hit the road, listening to John Denver and Willie Nelson as Sam fiddled with his new satellite navigation device. The three of us parked our car at the trailhead and set off on the 3-mile trek into the unknown. We followed the trail until the satellite navigation device would not stop beeping, prompting us to leave the beaten path. We dodged fallen branches and poison ivy until we passed through a wooden archway onto another forest clearing. "Your destination is 500 meters north," the navigation device droned. "Bloody hell, finally," muttered Rocky. "You would be a terrible scout," Sam ribbed him. Rocky was about to reply, but something made him stop. In front of us was a path lined with 2 rows of trees, branches draped with rags, tattered t-shirts and dirty towels. Some looked freshly tied, while others were almost rotting away. I had never seen anything like it. Your destination is 250 meters north. The navigation device buzzed again as we marched forward, eyeing the trees. At the end of the path lay a decaying, moss-covered stone well. Destination reached. Destination reached. Destination reached. The navigation device shouted at us before it went silent. My God, I wonder how deep it goes, Sam asked, staring into the well. I picked up a stone and tossed it in, greeted almost immediately by a dull thud. Looks like someone covered it up a while back, Sam said, but before he could finish his sentence, Rocky had already jumped into the well. What the hell, Rocky? We both yelled as he disappeared silently into the darkness. A few seconds of silence followed before we saw Rocky's headlamp flash. Hey mates, grab the rope. I found something, he called out. We pulled Rocky out of the well and scolded him as he brushed the dirt off himself. He rolled his eyes and took something out of his pocket. It was an old wooden box shaped like a small coffin. Someone had carved the same strange symbols from the notebook into the lid. The coffin was roughly nailed shut, with some rusty nails sticking out of the bottom. Creepy, Sam remarked. I know what you're wondering. Are we idiots? Are we blind to bright red warning signals? Quite possible. But back then, I did not believe in the unknown and accepted only what I knew for sure. Nowadays, I can only be sure of my inevitable downfall. Rocky pried the coffin open with his crowbar. It immediately shattered, and a brown mass fell to the ground. It looked like a primitive doll made of hard brown clay, with holes for eyes and a twisted frown on its face. Several faded blonde tufts of hair protruded from the doll's head. At that moment, I felt something was wrong. I had an inexplicable feeling that someone was watching us. I looked around but saw nothing. Instead, I noticed that the cicadas had stopped buzzing. It was deathly silent, except for a strange clicking sound. Guys, I think we should put that back, I said. Well, folks, Rocky said, remind me never to go up to the attic again. Then he tossed the doll into the air. That is not going in the living room, Sam laughed. Well, at least we found something. Come on, let's get out of here and set up camp. We left the clearing and set up at the designated campsites. Rocky told us stories from his youth as we sat by the campfire with a woman named Bonnie, whom we had met on the trails and who was camping with her dog, sharing drinks. I really had fun, but as I fell asleep, I could not shake the feeling that we were not alone. The next morning, we woke up hungover and drove home, satisfied with our adventure. I think the redhead liked me. I should have given her my number, Rocky mumbled as he tried not to throw up. Soon, everything went back to normal until one day, a letter arrived in the mail. Huh, Sam said. Looks like our landlord has died. I don't think I ever met him. Yeah, he was already in a coma or something when I moved in, Rocky explained while rummaging through his backpack. Hey, has anyone seen my bandana? He was in a coma when you moved in? I asked. Yeah, something like that. He was definitely bedridden. That is why we send our rent checks to the Adult Retirement and Disability Center. I always wondered about that, Sam began. Wait, it says here he died from a fall. How can someone in a coma die from a fall, and why would they even tell us how he died? Damn it, I think I left my bandana at the campsite. How am I supposed to go to work like this? Rocky grumbled. Crap, I think I forgot my hat there too, Sam added. Ah, bloody hell, I just need to stop mixing spirits. Rocky threw his hands up in frustration and headed off to work. That was the last time we saw him alive. I do not know the exact details, but the story goes that Rocky put his hand in a pot of boiling water and almost cooked his hand off. We heard from another chef that Rocky had not said a word while doing it until finally someone noticed. It took 4 men in total to pull his hand out of the pot, and only then did Rocky scream. We rushed to the hospital, but by the time we arrived, Rocky was already dead. The doctors said they had stabilized him and were preparing him for surgery when he just suddenly had a heart attack. We notified his family and attended his small funeral in Long Island. Sam and I returned to the house and decided to terminate our lease. We hired a moving company to send Rocky's belongings back to his hometown and made plans to move into a new place. However, things only got stranger from that point on. We received no notice from the management company for the house, but someone had definitely been inside while we were away. Someone had moved around discreetly and somehow the whole house seemed cleaner. We chalked it up to inspectors preparing the house for viewing, but it still felt strange that someone would snoop around while we were not there. I noticed in any case that my reading glasses were missing. Also, the house constantly felt warm. It was summer in Texas, making it nearly unbearable to stay in without the air conditioning on, but the thermostat remained at a low setting. So we thought it was an issue with the air conditioning. We knew another repair was never going to happen, so we decided to wait it out until we could move to our new place. 2 weeks would not be a problem, but soon we began to wonder if that would even be possible. Sam woke up one morning covered in bruises, and my head felt as if someone had yanked out a few of my hairs. Every night the same thing would happen. I would try to sleep, but I could not shake the feeling that someone was in our house, sneaking around, even though it was dead silent at night. Finally, Sam gave up and told me he would stay at his girlfriend's for the rest of the week. I was welcome to come along and sleep on the couch. I told Sam to go ahead. I would join him as I needed to pack a bag first. Adios, muchacho, Sam said on his way out, closing the door behind him. The next time I saw him was after his accident, in a body bag. Sam had been on his way to his girlfriend Ellie's house when his car crashed into a telephone pole at over 120 kilometers per hour. He died instantly, with almost every bone in his body broken. I tried to console Ellie, who blamed herself. When she read the autopsy report, she noticed that although both of his arms were nearly shattered, Sam's left arm seemed to have been broken even before the accident. She could not believe it and asked whether Sam had hurt himself the week before. I could not answer. Sure, he was covered in bruises, but I would have noticed if he had broken his arm. After mourning the loss of both my friends, I finally left the house and moved into an apartment on the other side of the city, where I fell into a pattern of unhealthy coping mechanisms. One day, I received a package in the mail. It had no sender. I cautiously opened it and was horrified to discover it was the same metal box from the attic, with the original key hanging from the front. When I opened the box, my stomach turned. It was filled with Polaroid photos. The first Polaroid showed the three of us around the well in the woods. Rocky was standing with his back to the camera, but I could see he was holding the small coffin he had found earlier. The second Polaroid showed Rocky in his sleeping bag at the campsite without his red bandana. The next 3 Polaroids displayed similar dolls to the one we had found, only these were clearly representing us. One wore Rocky's bandana, another wore Sam's Chicago cap, which looked slightly shrunken, and the last doll, which seemed to represent me, had jet black hair and appeared to be made of a different material. All 3 dolls were photographed in the attic. 3 more Polaroids showed what had happened to the dolls. Someone had set Rocky's doll on fire, bent Sam's doll into an elongated shape, and my doll was photographed in a different location. A rock in the woods, with a large black crow in the background. I sent the package to the police, who promptly informed me that they would get back to me as they were still investigating Rocky's death. That was 3 months ago. Now, the assigned detective lets all my calls go to his voicemail. The mayor's office has also been insisting for a while now that I go to therapy, or I would lose my job. So I am now in therapy. Lately, I have been nothing but a distraction at work, which probably has something to do with my appearance. My skin has slowly been receding. It started a week after I received the package. I noticed small sores on my legs and feet, and immediately went to the doctor. He not only could not determine the cause of the sores, but also denied they existed at all. I refused the referral to a psychiatrist and sought a second opinion, but they all told me the same thing. In the meantime, the sores grew larger until the flesh was literally dripping from my arms and legs. I received more Polaroids of my doll, taken at the same location, but at different times. It seemed to be decaying slowly, starting at the legs and then creeping up toward the face. In each photo, more crows were gathering around the doll. The therapy has not helped. My psychiatrist diagnosed me with walking corpse syndrome, supposedly due to post-traumatic stress disorder. The treatment, however, has not improved anything, and I fear my doctor will commit me to an institution. Hopefully, I am gone by then, and they will all see. So here I am, glued to my screen, feeling my left eyeball pressing against my cheek as I type out my story with nothing but bones and the bile from my throat warning all of you. The creepiest thing you can find is not a stalker in the woods, a moonless night, or a monster under your bed. It is a strange key in the junk drawer.